Hey, e-commerce marketing podcast listener. I wanted to let you know that we have created a 6-month guide to marketing your e-commerce store. You can download this guide by visiting getosi.com/guide or by texting GetOSI to 33444. This guide will show you how to get more traffic, sales, and conversions for your online store. Get the guide right now by visiting getosi.com/guide or by texting GetOSI to 33444. Welcome back, everyone, to the e-commerce marketing podcast. I am your host, Arlen Robinson, and today we have a very special guest, Laura Yecies. Laura is an experienced CEO, marketer, and strategist with proven ability to develop and market award-winning products, build teams, create profitable business models, scale businesses, as well as profitably exit. Over 25 years of experience leading the design, development, launch, and continued commercial growth of high-profile, successful global technology products and services. Public spokesperson and recognized industry thought leader, frequently sought out by the media in the cloud, mobile, security, collaboration, and internet services area. Deep functional leadership in global sales, marketing, product development and delivery, and business partnerships. Strong leader, strong ability to partner with technologists and build teams to accelerate results and capture market value. She's a passionate multilingual internationalist with expertise in building global business. Welcome to the podcast, Laura. That is quite an impressive bio. How's it going?
It's going well. You're very kind. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, not a problem. So, before we get started, you've got quite a bit of an experience in your field. Why don't you tell us and our audience a little bit about your background, how you got to where you are right now, a little bit about what you're doing day to day.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I left after I graduated from school. I headed west to Silicon Valley, and I've been here working in the technology world since '88. I spent the first half of my career working on enterprise software products, and then I switched to the consumer field. So I led development of the Netscape browser. I also was then general manager of Yahoo Mail and led that product to growth. Then I was working in the consumer internet security, so the Zone Alarm Firewall. And then I went into the startup world, and I was CEO of SugarSync and Catch. And one of the common threads really in the last 15 years, 20 years is I love working on end user productivity and communication oriented software. And so obviously Yahoo Mail, the Netscape browsers, productivity, SugarSync, file sync and share, about collaboration, the content side of collaboration. And now Mobilize is really very much focused on collaboration, building community, helping people come together. And it's, a communication platform designed for that. And so it's been really exciting getting to work directly on the type of product that I'm so passionate about.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I've talked to a number of different guests on the podcast that have similar background where they are coming from Silicon Valley, got a lot of experience working with a diverse group of businesses in various verticals, and they're at the point now where they're looking to leverage that experience in their own startups. And so that seems to be a kind of a common trend amongst people that are kind of, I guess, in a similar space that you're in, just kind of looking for the next life, I guess you could say, and leveraging all of that experience and skills that you have. And so that's awesome. Now, today's topic, of course, that we're going to be talking about, which I know you're very knowledgeable about, is how connected is your brand's community and really why it's important. And I know you're dealing with this day to day through your business now with Mobilize. And so one of the things that a lot of our audience and guests alike always want to know is, these days, really, what are some of the best ways that a small startup e-commerce business can grow their community? Especially those businesses that are just starting off, They maybe have a small mailing list of friends and colleagues, but that may be about it. Where do they really begin? Because we always are hearing about, you got to grow your community, build your audience. But what are some ways they can do that?
Sure. And I think it's so important because you mentioned a mailing list. And of course, it's, you'll want to occasionally email your prospects or your customers, but people are getting very tired of too many emails and things being pushed at them and being called, just being called on the phone. And so how do you draw them to you? How do you sort of bring them into the fold without being intrusive? And I think community is a great way to do that. We all desire community. We all want to have a sense of belonging. And that can happen even around products. People will feel affinity. I mean, even from the earliest days of Apple user groups in the 80s, they were using people feeling a sense of community with their local user group as a way to build affinity with the brand. Okay, so that's the goal. Then your question is, how do we do it? Like, it's easier said than done.
Right.
So I have a couple of suggestions. First of all, you have that list of prospects and customers, invite them to a community. So rather than inviting them to buy something or inviting them to refer you or spend money, invite them to a community. And then, of course, you want that community to be a place where they can see value. So content is very, very important. So, the leader should seed the community with great content. So, for instance, maybe you have some type of tool that your company sells, a software tool. It could even be a physical tool. So your community could be seeded with content about how to use it, examples of people who have used it successfully, examples of how it has helped that person grow their business or be more productive in their life. Content is king, as they say.
Right.
And if people come to the community and see good content, they'll want to come back. Thought leaders. Can you have thought leaders in the field be part of your community? And people want to join with those thought leaders. So that can be a good way. And oftentimes those thought leaders can refer other members of the community. And then that, of course, keeps the content ball rolling.
Right.
One other thing I want to talk about is sort of the logistics of how do you set up your community. So making it easy to join. So for instance, with Mobilize, you can have a link on your website to a forum. Many of our customers are doing this where people can join their community from their website. And then if they're enjoying the community, it's very easy to refer others to the community because it's, there's a simple link. And by the way, with Mobilize, you can have it be open, you can have it be closed, you can have it be open where you approve members. So, obviously every business has a slightly different use case and the way they want to set up their permissions. But so structure is important. And then I'd say the third thing to keep in mind, you have the content, sort of the infrastructure to make it really easy, is what's the experience like when people come? So moderation is important, right? We've all been on a thread in Facebook, especially lately with the difficult political environment where people don't feel safe, they don't feel comfortable. So, it's very important to have the moderator make sure that the community feels safe and open and comfortable for members.
Sure. Yeah, that's very important. And I think a lot of what you mentioned could be some of the reasons why some businesses kind of shy away from it because, it's good to create a community, but, it does take a little bit of effort to maintain and manage it. You can't just kind of start a community and expect people to just instantly engage. You do have to kind of foster a conversation or dialogue, whether that's through content that you have, whether that's through like you said, a open type of portal where you're giving them access to specific areas. Maybe these are just for your customers, or maybe these are for everyone. And so, there's a little bit involved in, of course, moderating it is key there too, because, you want to make sure it stays focused and you want, like you said, for people to feel safe. One of the things that you mentioned early on is that providing not only content, which is king, but giving your community access to thought leaders in the industry. And because, these days, people that are, let's say, in your particular community, in your niche, whatever that is, they want to, they want to learn, they want to know what, bottom line is they want to know what to do. If let's say you're on the retail side, let's say you're in retail fashion, women's fashion, and you're in that business, and you have a community where maybe you sell to other businesses. Those other businesses want to know, they want to know what to do. And so if you have thought leaders that are contributing to your site, it can be done a number of ways. And this is what we've been doing a lot more of these days. You can encourage thought leaders to do a guest blog post. A lot of times these various thought leaders or bloggers or influencers are looking for channels and vehicles to get their names out there and to get the word out there, and even to grow their content and build links back to their site. So that's one way to do it. So I think it's very important, and a lot of people don't realize that it's even though it takes a little bit of outreach on your end, it's definitely, I think, well worth it to help grow your community, so you're not the only one contributing to the content, where you have other experts that are kind of putting their voice in there.
Right. And then I think experts are really important, but then I think some of the users hearing it in their own voice, not overly edited. So almost like a case study, but in a very authentic way.
Sure.
Where someone says, I've used this product, I've used this technology, here's my experience, here's how it's worked for me, here's how it's helped me. And then, you can pin those posts to make them visible.
Right. Those are kind of like almost case studies, I guess, if you will, or even testimonials where, those definitely will resonate, well with your audience, as opposed to just experts that, people could see as, kind of preaching down from a choir, a choir, but rather people that are more at their level. So that definitely makes sense.
And I think those two sides of it are very complementary, right? The expert and the person in the street experience.
Yes, definitely. And, at the same time, that kind of brings me to my next question is, when you're growing these communities, what we see here at OmniStar, when we're trying to grow our community with our blogs and such, we always want to make sure that, we're not coming off as just, salesy or anything like that, where we truly want to provide value to our customers. And so it's like, what's really the best way to facilitate a two-way communication, between, you and your audience?
So I think people can really see through a pitch that isn't genuinely, that is salesy, that is being painted as not.
Right.
I think it's really about being authentic. And then it's okay to sometimes sell, but you want people to be like, oh, okay, I've been enjoying this community. I've gotten to know people. I've learned a lot. And okay, here's a special offer for the holidays. It is what it is. I want it or I don't want it. But I think when people try to put an offer or something that's too salesy with like this community wrapper, that's almost the worst, right? Because people are very sensitive to that.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah.
And it's okay to sometimes sell. Just, people know that it's a business and people are trying to make their businesses, but you want them to be able to trust when it's a true community post, that it is how it's being presented. Right.
And that's really the bottom line, is just trusting, getting them to trust you, and not just thinking that you're going to be selling them every time, you put something out. Now, when a small business is thinking of creating a community, what do you think are some of the best platforms or technologies that lend well to organically growing a connected community?
Sure. So there's really two kinds of tools that we see, and they each have, or there's maybe more than two, but the two that I'll talk about, they have pros and cons. So of course, everyone is familiar with Facebook, right?
Right.
Probably any of the members of your audience, they have a Facebook page, and they want to get people to like it and share it. And the great thing about Facebook is that sort of viral reach, where your followers can share it with others. So you want to take advantage of that ability with Facebook. But the problem with Facebook is that you as the business don't own the database, right?
Right.
And you don't have control over the feed. So for instance, let's say you have a really important post and you put it out there to your Facebook followers. You don't know if they're going to see it, right? Maybe they're not going to see it because their feed is filled with, their friends' holiday parties or, the latest about the election. So now in a community, for instance, that you can host in a platform like Mobilize, of course, you won't have any of those distractions. People, when they're in the community, they're focused on your community, but you don't have that viral reach. So what we encourage our customers is to leverage the best of both platforms. Use Facebook or other viral mechanisms to invite other people. And then within that flow, you can invite them with a simple link to join and register to the Mobilize community, or if you're hosting a community on another platform, invite them there. And then of course, once they're members there, you know who they are and you can market to them in a much more managed way. So I don't see it as either or. I think it's using both types of platforms is really the best of both worlds.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's definitely that definitely makes sense. I mean, one of the things that you mentioned as far as Facebook is concerned is, it would definitely rang true to me because, of course you can kind of try to grow an audience through, your Facebook followers and you can put out content to them. But, like you said, all of that can get lost in the mix of, cat photos, funny videos, the latest politics, and, everything else that's across someone's feed. So it can get lost. I mean, I've encouraged others that I've advised before to think about even starting a Facebook group, which is also another way to do it. You can they're very popular these days. You can create a private Facebook group for your audience members to be able to communicate and facilitate dialogue back and forth. But you still kind of do run into the same issue where if somebody is subscribed to the group, any posts are going to could still possibly get lost in their feed.
Right. So that's exactly what I was going to say. So it's a step closer or a step stronger than just having them be followers. But you, the group leader, still, don't have control. They're not in your CRM. One comment I wanted to make, I maybe didn't emphasize it as I wanted to before, is when you're using Facebook to encourage people to sign up to your community, what's cool is you're inviting them to a community. You're not inviting them to your mailing list. You're not inviting them for, they're not going to, it has a different feeling than just sign up. It's join a community, come into this place where you're going to get information that's interesting and appropriate to you, where you can connect with your peers, where you can learn. So I think it's a much more attractive offer, proposition for your members or for your followers.
Gotcha. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Now, as far as, communication goes, when you've got the community, I know with you guys at Mobilize use a variety of different tools. I know you had mentioned you guys use some next gen messaging tools. What are some of the technologies and things that you use or things that you guys could recommend a small business to use?
Sure. So, Mobilize is built on, essentially the most modern technology platform in terms of how we do our messaging to make sure that they're delivered and it's a good experience for our members. We have a mix, both emails and messaging. And what's cool is that people can choose how they want to be communicated with. So if they love apps and want to see everything in an app, they can use our mobile app, which is, I'm not objective, but it's gorgeous and really, really easy to use.
Okay.
Or they're an email person and they don't want to download a new app. They want to get the emails or, they want to see it on the web. And so I really believe that you want to meet your customers or prospects where they are and where they want to work and how they want to work. Right. And also, what we find is that often changes, right? So someone at the beginning might be like, maybe I'm interested. I'll check it out. I'm not downloading yet. I'm not signing up yet, but you can email me. there's this expert in my field who had an interesting post. I think I want to actually, be more connected. I'm going to go to the next step. There's really cool members here. I want to be on this platform so I can see who else is here, maybe see who else is in my neighborhood or subfield. So it's a bit of a journey, and it's important to have a platform that has that flexibility.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of it has to do with your audience's, the demographics of your audience. Their age, I think, has a lot to do with it. These days we know the millennials. Mobile is huge. If your demographic is the millennials, you got to meet them at the mobile device, whether it's through an app, like you said, where you can do notifications, push notifications, where they can communicate through the app, through text messaging, so that's one thing. But, if your demographic is a little bit older, maybe they're the Gen Xers or the Gen Ys, then, maybe email is the thing, or pushing content, updating content on your website or within your portal, and then notifying them via email. So I think that has a lot to do with it. You've really got to figure out who your audience is, and then, like you said, meet them where they are. And a lot of it does depend, I think, on their age and, the particular niche that you're in. Yes,
right.
So for sure. And so one of the things that we always like to wrap up the podcast with is the final question is that what is the one thing that an e-commerce business can do right now, to help their business grow, get traffic and get sales? And it can be anything, doesn't necessarily have to be regarding growing a community.
I really believe that community is really the future of marketing, that people affiliate with brands really to be, in a sense, part of a community. And so for, your audience who, is using the latest and greatest, advertising and affiliate and marketing techniques, and that's great, and you want to, be best of breed there, I definitely would encourage them to consider starting a community and inviting their audience to the community. I think they'll find a very, both an ROI from a revenue point of view and just tremendous satisfaction from that. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, these days, the one thing that I always stress is that you do have to think, if you're a business and you're thinking of marketing and reaching people, you've got to think kind of outside the box. And things these days definitely are a lot different than, before. And the traditional types or the traditional ways of meeting your end customer are a lot different.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I just want to add one small comment to that, which is I think it's true for both B2C and B2B.
Okay.
And I know your audience is both. I mean, so consumers, let's say they are getting a fitness product. They want to be in a community of other people who are exercising. But let's say you're a salesperson and you're using sales technology and you want to be in a community with other sales professionals, right? And so if someone is marketing a new technology for business people, let's say that example, the salespeople, they just as much want community and want to learn from their peers. So it might be more professional development than social type of community, but I think it's very important in both cases. Right,
definitely, for sure. Okay, great, Laura. Well, I definitely appreciate all of the wisdom that you imparted to our audience.
Thank you.
Definitely
My pleasure.
A great help in learning about growing a community. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to reach you?
Laura@mobilize.io or info@mobilize.io. We'd be happy to talk to them.
Okay, great. That sounds awesome. Okay, Laura, well, you have a great day. And thanks again for joining us here at the e-commerce marketing podcast.
My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the e-commerce marketing podcast. To access e-commerce videos and other resources to help your business grow, please visit getosi.com/videos. Subscribe to us on iTunes by searching for e-commerce marketing podcast, and please leave a rating and a review. Thanks for listening. See you next time.